call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.
Well, welcome back once again to the Necro Zoo. I am Boom. And in this one, let's go ahead and add one more figure to my McFarlane DC Multiverse collection. Now, today we will take a look at Our Worlds at War Superman from the next digital wave of McFarlane figures. Now, in this one, you do have this version of Superman, the Longshanks Green Arrow, and Ray Palmer's The Atom. Now, we will be reviewing all of those figures. First up is this version of Superman. Now, from what I can tell in this storyline, the artwork is done by McGinnis, who draws a really thick and yoked Superman. If you look at the artwork from the comics, you can tell he's, pretty massive. Very cool rendition of the Man of Steel, and I'm really anticipating taking a closer look at this figure. Now, he does look pretty impervious in the packaging, but let's go ahead and take a closer look at him. But first, he does come with your standard black DC Multiverse stand. The only difference being that since this is from a digital wave, you have that alternate logo from McFarlane Toys digital figures. Pretty cool. These are very striking compared to your standard black version of the stand. You also have his data file card on the front. You do have an image from the comics from that same exact storyline that I was referencing with the McGinnis artwork. Pretty iconic, cool image there on the front. That is also on the back of the box. On the back, you do have some information. Pretty sweet. We'll hold on to that. You also get this card, which holds the code for the digital figure. I'm not into these, so I usually just stack these up with the rest of my cards, but maybe some people do enjoy that. It does come with two alternate hands. Of course, these are the return of the Man Stranglers. Really nice open gripping hands that are cool for posing and taking some photography, so we'll hold on to those, but we have seen those before in earlier releases. And he does come with this pretty sweet eagle. Now, this is a repaint from the classic Beast Boy animal form eagle. This one is just painted in a more realistic, bald eagle colors, while that one was a translucent green. This could also work with your Peacemaker as an eagle-y figure. So that is pretty sweet. We'll hold on to that as well. Now let's go ahead and take a closer look at this figure. Now, first impressions, of course, right away we could tell that this is that same body book from The Dark Knight Returns Superman. We have seen it various times, also with the Mullet Superman from the Collector's Edition line, and also the Bizarro from the Bad Zorro 2-pack. And I have to say right off the bat, this version, for some reason, I don't know if it's the shield or that this is, their fourth, fifth time using this body. Now they have gotten it down pretty pat where everything works well. The symmetry, this is based off of a Superman that is a lot bulkier, so it really works with this figure. But all in all, I really love the colors, the dark blue with the dark black. Even that sort of cell shading accent that they added to the trunks really works with this figure. Now, when I first saw the images of this, and when I knew this was coming, this had shipped out, wasn't really too excited about it. I thought, it's an okay figure. Nothing too exciting, but I will add it to the collection. But once again, I have to tell you guys, always wait until you get a figure in hand before you make any assumptions or any final decisions, because this is by far my favorite use of this body book. And as a whole package together, this is really an awesome Superman action figure. Let's take a closer look at the head sculpt. Now, while the head sculpt is very comic book style and looks like your standard Kal-El Superman, I do think the head sits a little bit short, which is, something that usually happens with a lot of McFarlane figures. They just sit the head a slight bit too short on the neck, and it makes the head really squat, and it also prevents you from getting the full range of articulation in the head. Now, I will go ahead and mod this neck peg. I'll show that later on in the video. And it makes a really big difference in the feel of the figure and how the figure presents itself, as well as the articulation in the head. But when you first get it out of the package in the standard form, although the head sits really low, you can keep it that way. He looks down, but not too much. The chin hitting the neck right away. Also, he does look up a good amount, and it's not bad. It's just I know that you could mod this to get a lot more range out of the head. You do have left to right. And of course, you could tilt the head for some attitude. Pretty nice. Now go ahead and look down. As I said, love this shield, love the trunks, love the cell shading. All of this stuff is just gives the figures a lot more life, a lot more personality than just having it as a bland figure. A la the recently released Bane. At first, I thought the cell shading was gonna be a really big detractor, but it ends up that that is some of the biggest charm of that new Nightfall Bane figure. Take a look at the waist articulation. You do have side to side. You have the full tilt-a-whirl at the waist, really smooth. You got lower waist swivel, upper chest swivel. You could twist them, get them in some cool poses. Now, as far as crunch goes, there's not much there, which is because of this bulky body book, but you can mod this and give it a little bit more range to get them in those crouching poses. But all in all, great waist articulation. Take a look at the shoulder. This is one time when the shoulder cuff is really nicely fitted into the socket. The bushing moves around very freely. I had a problem with my mullet Superman where the shoulders were really tight. I guess because they added like a paint on it or something like that and just made it really snug in the socket and you couldn't get a lot of range out of that. Now I did fix this by heating it up and expanding that socket so you could get more movement. But this one comes pretty much ready to go. Really a lot of smooth flow and articulation. You do have some up and down and some front to back. No bicep swivel, but you do have that hinge at the elbow that really compensates for that missing bicep swivel. It really gives you a lot of choices when you're posing this guy and doing figure photography. Going down from the shoulder into the arm, same basic thing we've seen before with a lot of these figures, into a fist. Now, you do have your 4 ways of articulation at the wrist with that hinge and swivel. On the other side, you have the same thing. Pretty nice T-pose, really simply. Move the arms above the head, nice and smooth. Basically, really smooth articulation, really clean articulation, where there's no hinging or any hindrance to the movement, so worked out really well. Let's go down to the lower body. Taking a look at the legs, he does have really nice thigh swivel. Now, of course, this means you can swivel the boot without having a thigh cut. You still have that range of motion. You kick up respectively and kick back as well. Now the trunks are made of rubber, so they do move out of the way and allow for this range of motion. And when you put them back, they go back to their original shape. You can cock out the knee, has that McFarlane hip swivel. Double jointed knees, but they are kind of limited because of the bulkiness of the sculpt. Straighten it out, up and down at the ankle, right to left. Rocker. And of course, toe articulation. Now, before we go, let's take a look at the lower body. Looks really good. I love the colors. Really deep red and a dark blue with that accent of the black trunks and the black in the Superman shield really works with this figure. Really no complaints to speak of at all. On the back, you have the same thing, nothing much to speak of. But one big detail, of course, is that they did add the S on the back of the cape. And this is comic accurate. If you look at the comic, he does have a black S on the back of his cape. All in all, great figure. Really enjoying him. Now, this guy is a lot more fun than I thought he was going to be. Really photogenic version of Superman. I love the head sculpt, the way it has that strong jawed, classic looking Superman. Now, of course, you can switch out the hands to give you different possibilities for figure photography. You can add the eagle as well, which gives it a little bit more of a America feel to him, which is awesome. Now, as far as size comparisons, you can put him next to your standard Nightfall Batman, and this scales really well. Now, kind of you can't tell here, but he's a little bit taller than the Batman. But once you extend the neck peg, that height goes up a little bit more. Now, I did pop out the neck barbell, cut it in half, drill 2 holes on either side, and then add a little spike nail. Now, once I get it to the length where I know it has great head articulation, great movement, I do go ahead and add super glue and let it dry. Then once you add that peg, you have ultimate articulation in the head. It looks down really far, looks up even more for flying poses, which is great. And you can just feel the smoothness and the range of movement. And the main thing, the best thing that this does, besides raising up the height, besides giving him better articulation, is the aesthetics of that head sitting up a little bit higher, exposes more of that, thick neck, and makes him just look a lot more heroic and gives him a bigger presence on the shelf. Now, with the eagle included in this, you can get out a little flag and put it in his hand, giving him a sort of patriotic version of Superman, which is really cool. Love that. Great for figure photography. For me, this really works as a temporary Nightfall Superman. I think these two look great together, and this is a great standard Superman figure. Pleasantly surprised. I didn't I didn't expect to enjoy him as much as I did, but this is an awesome addition to my DC Multiverse collection. But anyways, you guys keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next
They used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.